Lamar Lee, Max Life Investment Group, and you are now watching Max Life IGTV. At certain points in our lives, we got to reinvent ourselves. Life requires it. We max out or we fail, whatever the case may be. And a lot of times that's the toughest thing that we have to do. Growing up, my plan was always to be a professional basketball player. I was gonna go pro. I was gonna hoop every single day. That's what I thought about. That's what I worked towards. I lived it. Ball is life. As us hoopers like to say, ball was life. Was good enough to get a scholarship. Got a scholarship to play Division I basketball. And, when you get there, you go. And in sports, it's funny because all the way up until college, you're the man. Everything revolves around you. You're a standout. And you get all the praise. You get all the respect. And then when you go to college, you're on a team where everybody was the man where they came from. And everybody comes from mad respect. In their previous situations or their previous school, on their previous team. And so everybody's expectation is that they're going to come out here and eat. They're going to be the man in this current situation. And that is one of the biggest challenges for an athlete going from one level to the next. After college, when you don't go pro, a lot of us have no idea what we're going to do. No idea what life is going to look like, what we want it to look like. But we still have a massive drive to be successful. We still have, a lot of discipline and dedication and all those intangible skills that you had when you hooped. They're still there. The desires for success and to do well are still there. You just don't know which vehicle you're going to use. You don't know what your new game is going to be. After basketball in college, once it was over, I looked at myself, looked at my career, and I had to be straight with myself. I had to be real. Man, you've put all that you have into this game, and your best case scenario is you can go overseas, start out making $30,000 a year, fight and claw your way up, and then by the time you get there, physically your career's over. And so now you got to come back home. You got to go back home and start from the bottom at age 30. And I was just like, man, that does not sound like a path that I want to take. And so I gave up the game of basketball to at least figure out what my next game was going to be. Giving up the game of basketball forced me to have to reinvent myself. I didn't want to have to take what life gives me, because I've seen what happens when you don't plan ahead and now you got to take what life gives you. I was like, yo, if I'm gonna reinvent myself and figure out, well, Django, you better not stop. Get in there. Django's got to go out. Let me take him out. And so at some point, I had to figure out what my next game was going to be, what my next vehicle was going to be. Come on. When you grow up as an athlete and that's all you ever think you're going to do, you have no idea what the world is or what the world looks like or what's out there. And so I was downtown one day walking around. I see a bunch of brothers walking around wearing suits, and I'm like, yo, maybe I could do that. And I'm like, okay, well, what can I do down here? What kind of job can I get that requires me to wear a suit? And when you don't know anything, when you're young and you don't know anything, you go where you think the money is at the bank. And so I walked into a bank and went back where the bankers are and looked around and looked to see if I saw anybody who looked like me. I didn't see anybody who looked like me, so I got out of that one. Went to the next bank. Went on to the next bank. I remember it was a Chase. I walked into another Chase. Looked in the back where the bankers are, saw a brother that looked like me, wrote my name on a little clipboard. And, he comes out to greet me. We go back to his desk. We sit down, and he's like, how can I help you? And I look him dead in his eye, and I'm like, what do I need to do to get a job at the bank, man? How do I get a job in here? And he looks at me up and down, and he's like, well, the first thing you got to do is get a suit. I'm like, okay, suit, check. What else? You know, at this point, I'm green. I've never even had a job before. And so he walks me through, tells me, you got to get a resume, this and that. You know, I'm like, okay, suit, what color tie, what color shirt? Give me all the details. You know, in sports and basketball, I was detail-oriented. Coach tell me something, I'm going to figure out how to do it exactly how he tells me to do it. Let's go. So after he walks me through it, I get out of there. I go directly to Men's Warehouse. This is right after college, man. I think I want to say I got like $600 to my name at this time. And go to Men's Warehouse, get a suit, get a shirt, get a tie, spend about $300. I go home, put together a resume, compiling all the nothing experience that I had ever had because I never had a job. And just went after it. Went to, apply for every bank teller position that I could possibly get. Honestly. Then I went into some banks to introduce myself to the manager. Got to stick out somehow, right? So I go to one bank, and I remember the manager was like, have you ever had a job before? I was like, no. I still hadn't finished my bachelor's degree at this time. I had like 2 or 3 more classes that I was taking online. She's like, you ain't never had no experience? I'm like, nah. You've never had a job. You have no experience, and you don't have a degree. We can't hire you as a banker, but what we could do is we can hire you as a teller. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever I got to do to get in. And so at that point, I stopped. I applied for a teller position, or the lady at this particular branch, she's like, I can't hire you as a banker with no experience and no degree. But I could hire you as a teller. But the only problem is I don't have any teller positions available. And so I'm like, okay, bet. And so I leave there and I flip my whole script. I'm like, okay, well, I need to be applying for teller positions. So I apply for every teller position I could find in the city of Chicago. And at some point, and after I apply, I throw my suit on, get a little fancy hair. I had an envelope with my resumes in them, and I would go to each branch, introduce myself to the branch manager. Hi, how you doing? My name is Lamar. I recently applied for a position. The whole all the little script or whatever, what everybody says when they're looking for a job. And I get a job at one downtown. And from the Gold Coast, I want to say. Magnificent Mile. I get a job at a branch on the Magnificent Mile downtown in Chicago. And so I get the job. I go in there and I'm terrible, man. I can't first of all, the schedule changes every other day. I'm used to one set schedule, get there at this time, practice at this time, gets out at this time. Every other day my schedule is changing. I can't even keep up with the changing schedule. And I get into the job and I'm trying to do well. I want to do well. But honestly, in order to do well as a teller, you got to be so robotic that I just struggled, man. I struggled entering stuff into the computer. I never gave away money. I never made mistakes like that, but I made small mistakes over and over. And honestly, everybody liked me as a person. And then, also at the time when I get this teller position, as I said, I'm finishing up classes. So I got 2 classes that I'm taking. I'm working as a bank teller. My job is downtown Chicago. The school that I'm attending class to is in Indiana. And so it's an hour away from where I'm working. So I'd go to work. I made $400 something every 2 weeks, just to kind of give you a perspective on what I'm going to do and how much I'm getting paid to do it. I would go to work downtown. If I had class, I had to take my car. And so in order to take your car, you got to park it downtown. Parking downtown was $20 a day at the time. And so I spent $20 a day parking. And what was crazy was that was damn near all the money I was going to make for the day. I'd spend $20 parking, go to work, work my shift, get out of there, have to rush through this rush hour traffic to get to class in Indiana at 6:30, and it was a 3-hour class. I'd rush out of there, get to class, and be bored out of my mind in class. I'd be sitting in them classes, it'd be a 3-hour class. After an hour, I'd be like, man, I'm gonna get out of there. And I repeated that over and over for the whole probationary period of the job before they let me go. You know, they brought me in the office, was like, Lamar, we love you. You're a great personality. But this ain't working out, man. You ain't hacking it in this position, pretty much, in so many words. But at the time, right around that time, I had got introduced to network marketing. You know, home-based business. We've heard of Mary Kay, Amway, all those type of businesses. And I got introduced to that. And so, you know, when I got introduced to it, that was my first introduction to entrepreneurship, to running your own business. And how I got introduced to it, I was trying to talk to this lady, right? To this woman, trying to talk to this chick. And of course, trying to holler at her. She's like, yo, you want to get together? Meet me over here. I'm like, all right, cool, we can get together. And prior to us getting together, she sent me a video. And in the video was 2 young brothers that looked like me giving a presentation, talking about this business, talking about, you know, this business that they were running, that they started. And in the course of building this business, they were able to create residual income, passive income. I'm like, what's residual income? What's passive income? And it's pretty much money that you make every month for work that you did in the past. Once I grasped onto the concept of making money that you don't got to go to work for, making money while you sleep, I was infatuated with that, man. I got real excited about it. So, you know, I go to this presentation and I'm locked and loaded mentally. I'm like, yo, at this point, I'm not even really thinking about her. I'm thinking about this opportunity. I'm like, yo, if I could take an opportunity like this and run with it, and build and become the right person, this is the perfect vehicle to reinvent myself in. Something like this. You know, I wanted to get good at something. I knew I had to find a new game. And I was telling myself, I was like, yo, if you're going to go out and build a new skill and do something new and do something different, if you're going to get good at something that's worth getting good at. Don't go out here and get good at something that's not going to change your life. Don't become a bodybuilder, or don't get good at something that doesn't put money in your pocket. You need to make money. It was in my head that I knew I needed to develop new skills. I knew I had to reinvent myself and become a new person, find a new game. I was just trying to figure out what it was. And so once I kind of got put onto that, I started listening to anybody who I thought was successful in it. First of all, I signed up immediately. It was like $365 to get started in the business, $65 a month. I'm asking people about it. I'm asking my family and friends, because I'd never even heard of anything like this. And they're all like, yeah, that's sales. In that type of situation, if you don't produce anything, you don't make any money. You know, your success is 100% dependent upon you. And for a lot of people, that scares them. But for me, being an athlete, that was right up my alley, because in sports, you're only as good as you can perform. You know, and so if you don't perform, you don't play, you don't eat. And so the idea of it all riding on your shoulder was comforting to me, honestly. You know, because that was the environment that I was coming from, and where I had the most success. I get involved in a company, I get to meeting some people, talking to some people, I'm listening to some leaders in the company. They're all talking about personal development. I'm reading books. Every so often, I'd open a book. I'd never finish one, but I'd open it. I'd listen to all audios. I'd go to some trainings. I wouldn't go to all of them. But what it did is it gave me an opportunity to see some people winning as entrepreneurs. High-level people who have been doing it for years. And the one thing I noticed is how personally developed they are. They were students of their craft. They knew everything they possibly could about their craft, about their industry, about what they were doing, and they were so dedicated and committed. Everybody who was really making money in the company was all in, had all the chips in. You could tell it was evident in their life where all their chips were. What the industry showed me is that if you had anything other than 100% of your chips into what it is that you were trying to do, you weren't going to win. All of the people who were winning big had 100% all of their chips in to the business that they were creating. They were all in. And the people who weren't winning, they weren't all in. They might have been at 50%. They might have been at 60, 70, 80, 90, even 90. At 90% effort, 90% focus, you still wouldn't win. And so I go through the business. I have enough success to let myself know that I can do some things. I can do some shit. I put a little bit of money in my pocket. I was like, okay, I can do something, but I didn't have the massive success that I was looking for. And so in the process of, getting introduced to that and trying to do well in this new job and this new role I got, man, I tripped up the job. I wasn't killing the business, but I was having enough success to let me know that I could do well. I just had to keep developing. But along the way, in the process of developing, I don't make it through to the other side of my probationary period at the bank. They fire me, get me up out of there, and now all I have is my business. And in my head and in my heart, I'm like, man, all I really want to do is build this business anyway. I want to build a business and have passive residual income coming in. But I wasn't quite the person that I needed to be. And so I dabbled around with it more. I had more time. And so I would listen to audios, go to trainings. I got a little bit more serious, but not serious enough to win. At some point, someone comes along and is like, yo, you wanna work at a school? I can get you a job working as a teacher's assistant, working with students with special needs. I'm like, I bet. Remember, at the bank, I'm making $400-something every 2 weeks. I'm like, how much money I'm gonna make? They're like, 30,000. I'm like, 30,000. Listen, man, it's all a matter of perspective. I thought 30,000 was a lot. So, I get the job as a teacher's assistant, and I go through, and I'm working. It's a little more comforting. At least the schedule is set every day. But in the back of my mind, I'm still thinking about this passive income, residual income. I'm thinking about building a business. I'm like, yo, what I really want is I want to build a business that pays me every month, where I can impact other people's lives, spend my time how I want to, not have to make decisions based upon time and money. That was stuck in my head. Remember, as an athlete, I've always planned on having massive success. When you consider hooping, then professional athletes make good money. They got a decent amount of time on their hands to kick it with their family and do what they like to do. They drive nice cars, all that. I wanted to be successful. And so, that stayed in my head while I was a teacher's assistant. And then at some point, while I'm working as a teacher's assistant, I realized, I'm like, yo, this lead teacher who's supervising me, she's here the same amount of time that I'm here. She's making double the money I'm making. She's making $60,000, and I'm making $30,000. I'm like, yo, there's an opportunity for me to level up. And so I'm thinking about my business, but I'm not really building it. But I'm still thinking about it. I'm like, yo, I got to get back to that. But at the same time, I'm in what I'm doing at the moment, and I see an opportunity for me to, increase my income and get to another level. And so I kind of study up on what I need to do to go from 30 to 60, to go from the assistant to the lead teacher. And then I realized, I need a master's degree. I started looking for, online programs that I could complete while I'm working. Mind you, I still had 2 classes that I had to finish in order to obtain my bachelor's degree. And so I'm working full time, coaching 2 basketball teams. And, at that point I had decided to go back to school, and I'm in a full-time fast-track master's program. All this stuff at the same time. And I'm living on the south side of Chicago, working on the north side of Chicago, and I don't even have a car, and I'm doing all this. And so I'm grinding, I'm hustling, I'm giving it all I got, because I'm really trying to get this thing called life going. And so, I figure it out. I sign up for school. I don't have my bachelor's. A lot of people are like, how you do that? Let me tell you how I did it. I didn't want to wait. I didn't have time to be waiting until I finished my degree, until I finished those 2 classes. I was like, man, I don't have months and months to be waiting before I start this. I need to get the ball rolling so I can finish this stuff in time to get to become the person I want to be, man. If I wait till I'm 40 or 50 to really get going, that's not gonna work for me. And so while I'm finishing my bachelor's, I sign up, submit the application for the master's, send them all the transcripts I had up until that date, and pay the money. I pay money, I pay the tuition. You know, because once you pay, you in. And at some point somebody sends me an email, it's like, yo, we're missing your degree. And I'm like, yo, I ordered those transcripts. I'll be sending them to you soon. They're on the way. Send them when I get them. They're like, okay, but since I paid, they let me through, and I was in. I got my first paper, got my first assignment. My mentor in education, she was brilliant, man. She was the reason I was even doing this stuff. I sent her the assignment. She looked at the assignment. It was a 10-page paper. I had hardly even wrote papers in my undergrad. She knocks out the paper, and I use that paper as my blueprint for every other paper that I wrote for the program. And I'm working on those 2 bachelor classes at the time, and I'm just grinding, and I'm just doing my thing, and I was reinventing myself. I was finding a new vehicle for me. And so I go through the program, do all that, and I'm going to school, I'm working, I'm coaching, I'm locked in. I'm not doing anything other than those things every day. And the program was 15 months. After the program, I signed, take my classes, take my tests to become a teacher and all that good stuff. And I just fight through it, and I get to the other side. And so I went from $400 every 2 weeks to making $30,000 a year, which was like $900, $1,000 every 2 weeks as a teacher's assistant. Went back to school, got a master's degree, and that allowed me to go from making $30,000 to $60,000. And for the first 3-4 months, man, $60,000. That paycheck, $60,000. I think my paycheck, instead of being $1,000 every 2 weeks, it was $2,000 every 2 weeks. And so I go through that process, and everything is looking good. But in my head, I'm like, all right, what's next? What's next? What am I gonna do? I pay off my student loans. I pay off all the student loans that I had obtained, that I had accumulated to get to that point. I'm like, okay, pay that off. And now, what I did was, my lifestyle hadn't changed. Even though I went from 400 to 400 every 2 weeks, to 1,000 every 2 weeks, from 1,000 every 2 weeks to 2,000 every 2 weeks, my lifestyle hadn't changed. And so I was still living the lifestyle that I was living when I was only making $30,000. And so I was saving the cash, saving what was left over. After I paid off my student loans, I didn't put that money in my lifestyle. I kept saving it, and I was still like, what's next? What am I gonna do with this money? I was like, yo, I know I gotta do something with it. I still had that entrepreneurial spirit, and that seed was still planted in my head. And so I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, what can I invest in? What can I do with this money? I'm asking some of my friends who are successful. I asked my ex-girlfriend at the time. I'm like, yo, you got investments? Where can I put my money at? Can I put my money where you got yours? She's like, I got a Fidelity account and this and that. But, she couldn't even really give me the direction. And I remember like, damn, I can't find nobody who can really set me on the right path here. And so one day, it's August 2015, I'll never forget this. I get a call from my uncle from Detroit, and he's like, yo, your cousin's got a basketball camp at the University of Chicago. Come check him out. And so I go over to the University of Chicago. We're sitting there, and I'm watching the game. I'm watching them hoop, and me and my uncle are talking. And at some point in the conversation, he's like, yo, Lamar, we can get you a couple of houses in Detroit for like $15,000. At that point, I had heard about cheap property in Detroit. Everybody has heard about these $500 houses in the D. And I'm like, okay, that's what's up. $15,000 for a couple houses. I don't even look at them. I'm like, how much it cost to fix them up? He's like, oh, that's included. At that point, I turn my head, I look at him, because I got to see if he's serious. I'm like, 15,000 for 2 houses all in. I'm like, what's the rent on something like this? I'm thinking the rent got to be like $200-$300. I can't imagine what the rent is on something that's 15,000. He's like, yo, 3 bedrooms, we're getting about $750. 2 bedrooms, we're getting about $650. You'll make about $500 a month. I'm like, $500 a month? What's the mortgages on these? He's like, ain't no mortgages. These are cash deals. Cash deals. Now, at the time, I don't have a lot of money. You know, I'm not making a lot of money. I'm making more money than I had ever made in my life, but it ain't no money. But I'm like, I can come up with 15,000. I can save 15,000. And so he tells me how we buy it, you know, when I need to have the money and all that good stuff. I'm like, okay, how many y'all got? I asked the end all question, right? How many y'all got? He's like, yo, we got like 24 of them. 24 of them. And I do the math. I'm like, if you rent $700 a month, you got 24. I'm like, my man is financially free. I was like, my uncle is one of these dudes that I've been listening to on YouTube. I know him. And so I locked in, man. From that day forward, there's never been a day that I didn't think about real estate. I was like, man, this could be my vehicle. You know, it's the same time I didn't go out to Detroit, look at any properties. He told me, you know, October, have 15,000 by October, we're gonna buy some property. And so when October 1st came, I made sure I had the money. I picked up the phone early. I'm like, yo, I got the money. What are we doing? He walks me through how we're gonna buy the property, what the process is gonna be like, and all that good stuff. And I just lock in, man. To make a long story short, you know, we bought my first 2 properties. We rehab them. We put tenants in them. And from there, I just hit the ground running, man. I was like, yo, this is real. Like, if I can get to 20 houses, paying me $500 a month, that's $10,000 a month in passive income. That's $120,000 a year that I'll touch. Remember, at the time, I'm making $60,000 a year gross. So I'm probably only touching 40 of it. Out of the 40, I'm living as frugally as possible. And I'm able to save 15 to 20 of it, living as frugally as possible. And I'm like, if I can get to the point where I'm making $10,000 a month in cash flow, I'm good. When I was trying to build a network marketing business, I was like, if I get to $5,000 a month, I'm good. So the idea of getting a 10 in real estate, I was like, I'm with it. And I just locked in. You know, he told me, if you're gonna do well in this game and you're gonna be successful, don't put the money in your lifestyle. Learn how to keep reinvesting it. And 2, read books, man. You need to get your financial education up. And so those are the seeds he planted in my mind, and I just watered them. I read every book I could get my hands on, listened to every video, audio, bio on anybody who I thought was successful in what I was trying to do. First year, I bought 2 properties in Detroit. I bought 1 in Chicago. So I bought 3 properties the first year. The next year, I bought 6 properties. You know, after reading books and all that, I figured out how to raise money. And so I tapped into some people close to me, turned them into from friends and family to investors. You know, so I bought my first 3 properties, you know, had some success, figured out it was real. Went out to Detroit, got a chance to see the layout of the land and see the opportunity, which made me even more excited. Because I was like, man, there's enough opportunity in this one city alone for me to not just get wealthy, but for me to get rich if I really want to take it to that level. After reading books and listening to audios, figured out how to raise capital, how to help other people around me make money. The next year I bought 6 properties. The year after that I bought 10 properties. The next year I bought 8 properties. And then the next year I bought 12 more. And for 60 months, 5 years, I created a plan for myself. I put together a strategy. I knew I had to hoard all the dollars that I made because I didn't make very much. So I had to make every dollar count. Hence where the slogan comes from, make every dollar count. When you don't make very much money, you got to make every dollar count. And so I hoarded my cash, learned how to use credit, learned how to manage debt, learned how to raise capital. And I wasn't professionals at these things at that point, but I was in the game. And those were skills that I was developing. And I was developing my mindset, learning how to look at money, learning how to think about money, how to approach money. And I just kept personally developing. And I took that experience in network marketing where I saw everybody winning, and everybody that I saw winning, they were all in. I knew this wouldn't be any different, that I had to be all in 100%. So I just became that person. Day by day, what will Lamar Lee in his prime do? I analyze every decision in my life like that. What will Lamar in his prime do in this situation? And after asking myself that every day and putting a plan together and sticking to it and saying no to all the things I knew I had to say no to and saying yes to all the things I had to say yes to, I got there. I trusted the process. When you're going through it, you don't know that it's gonna work. You're putting all your chips in, but you don't know for a fact it's gonna work. You just gotta have belief. And how do you and mitigate your risk? How do you mitigate your risk? You inform yourself. You get as comfortable as you can with the know-how, what it's gonna take, the sacrifice. You build a life around that. And so I built a life around the skills, the knowledge, and the resources that I knew I needed to have in order to be successful, and just went through the process. And at some point I got there. I woke up one day and couldn't believe it, but I had 20 rental properties, and I had the cash flow I was looking for that I had set out to get, and I was actually further along than I thought I would be at that point. And every day, with all the little wins, my confidence just got, it got higher and higher and higher. I started thinking bigger. As time went on, my appetite got bigger. I started thinking bigger. And so the idea of having 20 properties was like, oh, that's nothing, man. I need to have at least 200. There's an opportunity for me to get 200 in this market. That's where we are. We're in the process of building a massive, massive portfolio that pays me and our investors. We got investors who work with us, who put their money to work. There's a lot of people out here who want to be a part of something special, who are looking to partner with people who are winning. And so along the way, I've brought some people with me, some close people who've seen the vision and they've jumped on. And so we're all in. Some of them are investing in the deals that we got here at MAXLIFE, our deals that we buy, and they put their money alongside ours, and they cash flow. Some other investors that we work with, they go through my consulting program, MAXLifeConsulting.com. If you don't know, we help them get started building their own portfolios, and they utilize our resources as well. This whole thing, this whole conversation that we're having, it's about reinventing yourself. It was a process. Me going from a basketball player whose ambitions and aspirations are to play professionally to not win in that, to fail in that. Let's just call it what it is, to fail at that. You have to go back to the drawing board and figure out how you're going to create the same lifestyle, even though that vehicle is no longer available to you. Finding a new vehicle to get to the lifestyle that you really desire is the challenge. When I think back on it, the biggest thing I had to do was, one, find somebody who was successful, that I could model, that I could work with, that I could partner with, that could guide me, who had experience, who had the lifestyle that I wanted. I'm a firm believer in it. And before I accept somebody's opinion, I got to accept their lifestyle and their results in that area. And so I got with a mentor who had the juice and could teach me how to squeeze. I knew I had the juice, but I didn't know how to quite squeeze. They had the juice and they knew how to squeeze. And so I found a mentor who could teach me, who can guide me, who was there. And I had it in my head that I was willing to do whatever it took. Whatever it took for me to get to the other side, I was going to do. However long it took, however big of a struggle, however big of a sacrifice, I was up for it. Because, at the end of the day, my goal and my dream was big. It was so big that, any obstacle that I would have to overcome was a small sacrifice if I got to the other side. So don't be afraid to reinvent yourself, yo. It's a process. It's not easy. You got to try things. Try things, fail. That's how you build up. It's those small wins along the way give you confidence and let you know, even though I failed at this, I can go back to the drawing board, revisit some things, redo some things, and go after it and get over that one. And you just keep doing that over and over until you get to where you're trying to go. And in the process, you get good at reinventing yourself. You get good at getting over these obstacles in life that test you along the way. As long as your dreams are big enough, as long as your why is strong enough, you can get to the other side. Lamar Lee, Max Life Investment Group. Until next time.